Hey guys, first and foremost, thank you so much for taking the time to check this out. I'm really excited to bring this topic to you. Today we're going to be talking about gun control and what it looks like as far as slowing down or getting rid of gun violence here in America. Over the last several years in America, we have seen several mass or multiple mass shootings from schools to synagogues all over the country. And before even seems like the last bullet's flown, we have pundits, we have our senators, or we have our congressmen on the podium sitting there talking about and pushing their idea of gun control. That we must do something, their speech every time, we must do something, we have to stop this from happening again. And as much as each and every one of us never want to see a mass shooting happen again, banning guns or putting massive restrictions on firearms like AR-15s and magazine capacity bans are not effective. They're not the answer. They're not the problem. The thing is that banning or making it harder for law-abiding citizens to obtain firearms will not fix the problem that we have. In fact, it'll only make it worse. See, our issue is that we have a mental illness or mental health problem. We have to do a better job with diagnosis, care, and intervention to help curb this current epidemic and help to end this epidemic of mass firearm violence. See, self-defense is an inherent right given to us by God, and no person or entity has the right or ability to remove it. See, guns are not the cause for violent crime in America, and banning them isn't the solution. See, gun control has been something that's been near and dear to my heart, and I believe that banning guns or restrictive gun control is inherently and wholeheartedly evil. I spent hundreds of hours researching and to find these facts and ideas of what gun control looks like and its implementation, not only here in America, but abroad. I'm going to go over 3 points with you. See, guns are not the problem, number one. Number two, restricting or banning guns is not statistically or realistically effective. And then thirdly, self-defense is a right. It is not a privilege. Contrary to popular opinion, guns are not the cause of this epidemic of violence in America. Mental health is. While it's true that bad people use guns to carry out their heinous crimes all the time, they're an inanimate object. They're an inanimate tool. Something that a bad person can use for very bad things, or a good person can use for amazing things. But to be honest with you, most of these firearms that are used in these mass shootings are obtained illegally. People don't have permits for them. They're not obtained in the right way. They may have obtained it in a way that they never should have. If gun controls were so effective, answer this question, if gun laws and gun control was so effective, then a majority of these mass shootings wouldn't have happened. The issue we face today is the collapse of moral fabric and foundation of our country and mental health epidemic. No longer does the majority of our country hold to an absolute standard of right and wrong. And this has led to the devaluing of human life and lending to the idea that human life has no value to those who struggle with an already mental illness. We have an increased diagnosis from 1950 till now. We've seen a doubling of diagnosis and treatment of mental health issues like depression, anxiety, bipolar, and many other psychotic disorders. But then again, we also have a mass misdiagnosis or lack of treatment for those who deal and struggle with mental illness. People, they're not reported to the proper agencies so that they no longer can buy a firearm. When we actually look at shooting statistics, in our country, around 30 to 35,000 deaths by firearm each year happen in America, and that includes murder, suicide, justified killings, self-defense, and accidental deaths. If you remove just the self-defense and the justified and the suicide, that number drops to 12 to 15,000 per year, according to the CDC. That number is less than heart attacks, cancer, car accidents, strokes, workplace accidents, diabetes. And in fact, if you were to remove the suicide and justifiable deaths from that number, it goes from being less than the top 10, it's less than the top 10 causes of death to less than the top 20 causes of death. See, even if guns were involved in as many deaths as they're made out to be, banning them nor strict gun control laws have correlated to any significant decrease in violent crimes or gun deaths. The argument is that if you have stronger gun laws, or if you have stronger gun mandates, or banning guns, you'll have less firearm violence. But the fact is that that's just statistically not true. In Australia, for example, the place that people that are advocates for gun control point to, or banning guns point to, they banned guns in 1997 after a mass shooting. In fact, the fact is, though, that after 1997, there was never a discernible difference between their violent crime and firearm homicide rate. In fact, it was dropping at a consistent rate, and has been consistently, with no effect being felt by the gun ban. Violent crimes like armed robbery actually went up. Violent crimes in general have actually gone up. If we look at the UK, in 1996, they came out with a handgun ban. Their violent crime, or death by firearm rate went up 55%. Violent crime rate went up 55%, and only was it in 2010 did they see a year that was even comparable to 1996. Right here in America, same results. According to the CDC and the FBI, New York City, Washington, D.C., and Chicago, just to name a few, these are the same cities that have increased gun control laws, and they've even had all-out handgun bans and other gun bans, and it is clear that through those statistics, there hasn't been a discernible decrease in homicides, violent crimes, or firearm deaths. But the thing is this: even if there was a decrease in gun deaths that could be obtained by stricter gun laws, it does not mean that it justifies taking away the right of law-abiding citizens option or opportunity to defend themselves. See, self-defense is an inalienable right given to us by God that cannot be taken away by any person, government, or authority. As horrible as it is to see a psycho commit a heinous crime, with a firearm, that does not mean it gives the right of someone else to infringe upon another person's or another law-abiding citizen's right to defend themselves. Contrary to what you hear, Second Amendment has nothing to do with a person's right to go hunting or go sport shooting. It has everything to do with the right to defend yourself from both enemies, foreign and domestic, tyrannical governments, and that person that wishes to break into your home, or any country that wishes to invade us. Our Second Amendment is there to defend ourselves and nothing more. Even though it's a travesty to see one of these actions committed, these heinous crimes committed, it's just as much a travesty to see a mother or a young lady to be attacked or killed because she couldn't defend herself from some ex-husband or ex-boyfriend. It's a heinous, or it's a travesty that some man was attacked and killed by a radical Muslim jihadist for posting something online that they didn't like. It's a travesty for a mother or father to not be able to protect themselves or their kids from a violent intruder because they know how to right to protect themselves. Self-defense is an inherent right, God-given right, given to us, that there's no one that can remove that right or take it away. And no matter how many times or how many multiple people commit these violent acts, it cannot remove any law-abiding citizen's right to defend themselves. Our right is not available to be removed or taken away. And man cannot take away what God has given. See, America does not have a gun problem. We have a mental health issue. We have issue with reporting, intervention of the mentally ill people who show or threaten violence or heinous crimes. We actually, when guns are banned or there's restrictive laws, their citizens, there's no discernible effect on violent crime or gun deaths. As we said, there's about 30,000 gun deaths each year, including homicide. Less than most causes affecting America today. In fact, according to the FBI, anywhere from 5,000 to 3 million people each year are saved by defensive use of firearm. That's more than 50 times the number of people that are killed by firearms in any way. Guns are not the problem. Restricting or banning guns is not statistically or realistically effective. Self-defense is a right, it's not a privilege. Banning guns will never fix the issues we have in America. It will only compound our problem and rob the people of their God-given rights. Criminals will still break laws. They'll obtain guns illegally, and they'll use them for their heinous, bad, intended purposes. And law-abiding citizens will be left with no way to protect themselves from those who wish to hurt them. A tyrannical government that wished to take control over them. If you don't think that's possible, look at Venezuela right now. And I leave you with that.